Well, folks, it finally happened. We got a Nintendo Direct announced, but it wasn't quite the Nintendo Direct that I think a lot of us were hoping for or waiting for. It's still an exciting announcement, don't get me wrong, but we're all kind of waiting for that big general showcase that gives dates for several first-party Nintendo titles, announces several third-party games, and gives us information on a lot more than just one thing. However, earlier this morning, Nintendo announced a Donkey Kong Bananza Direct. And while I'm very excited for this game, and I do think this Direct will be very good, we'll talk about what I expect to be in it in just a second, there is that level of disappointment because I'm like, man, I want to see all this other stuff. There are so many first-party games announced for Switch 2 that either don't have dates or in some cases just don't really have that much footage even to begin with, like Kirby Air Riders. So today we're talking about the Donkey Kong Bananza Direct, what I think will be in it, because I am excited for DK Bonanza, and I do think it'll be at least a better Direct than the Mario Kart World one back in April. But we're also going to talk about what this DK Direct means for other Nintendo news. Are we just going to get it shadow dropped on Twitter one morning? Is there still hope for a June Direct after this DK Bonanza showcase? That's what we're talking about today. Of course, if you are new here and you enjoy Nintendo Switch 2 discussion and theories and speculation, all that fun stuff, I would appreciate you liking the video and subscribing. Let's get into it. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the channel. I hope you had a good weekend playing your Switch 2. I personally have been absolutely grinding Mario Kart World. But yes, this morning Nintendo announced, as you can see on screen, a Donkey Kong Bananza Nintendo Direct presentation. They say, quotes, tune in at 6 a.m. Pacific time on June 18th, so that's Wednesday, 2 days from now, for a live stream Donkey Kong Bananza presentation featuring roughly 15 minutes of information about the upcoming Nintendo Switch 2 game. And that's it. That's all we know about this Nintendo Direct. It's going to be 15 minutes of information on DK Bonanza, and at first I was like, oh god, we just went through this with the Mario Kart World Direct. If you remember back in April, they announced I think it was roughly 15-minute showcase for that game, and that Direct announced like nothing. However, upon further inflection, I mean, there's so much we don't know about Donkey Kong Bonanza that I think inherently this is already going to be a better Direct than the Mario Kart one was. I mean, there's entire mechanics to Donkey Kong Bonanza that have leaked that we just don't know about. So if you allow me to get into a little bit of spoiler territory with the marketing for this game, if you remember back in April, they showed an image. Normally it has this new character Oddrock, the little singing companion with you. Normally it has him on the key arts. However, there was a leak, I think from Nintendo Korea or something like that, that showed a smaller, younger Pauline in that same position. So this is something that I have to imagine we're going to see in this Donkey Kong Bonanza Direct. We're going to see how that affects gameplay, if it does at all, what the exact story of this game is with a young Pauline. We also need to see just a lot more of the game. I do feel that even though we've seen a decent amount of gameplay of this, you know, they streamed it on Treehouse for I think like an hour total. There's a lot of gameplay of it. We've really only seen a couple of areas. The initial reveal trailer showed quite a few more, but I think this Direct is going to really lay the roadmap for what DK Bonanza is. There's been some speculation of there being a co-op mode. I think if that's in the game, we would certainly see it here. We should see a lot more worlds, a lot more mechanics, a lot more just different things, costumes. I think this is going to really, blow the roof off of whatever DK Bonanza is hiding. Hopefully not in its entirety. I do still want them to save some secrets for us, especially since the game is still a month away at this point. Maybe they announce a demo or something, maybe a little demo. That'd be nice. I don't think they really need to do that. But yeah, I think this is going to be certainly better than the Mario Kart World Direct, just because there's so much we don't know that we don't know about DK Bonanza. With Mario Kart World, it was more just optimism. At the very least, we need to find out about the Pauline stuff, potentially the two-player co-op, and then maybe, this is I guess more optimistic, maybe we find out what's going on with Diddy Kong and all the other Kongs here. So all of that alone, plus a recap of what we do know so far, that sounds like about 15 minutes. I will, of course, be live streaming this on a Wednesday morning, so stay tuned to the channel if you want to watch this alongside me. But yeah, DK Bonanza Direct. What else could we see? I mean, maybe they could do like a special edition Pro Controller or Joy-Con or something, maybe. We could see our first little special edition peripherals for the Switch 2. Maybe some Donkey Kong Bonanza amiibo would be really cool. I was even thinking, I'm playing so much Mario Kart World right now. I think we all kind of agree, if you really pay attention to what's in Mario Kart World, there is clearly an absence of Donkey Kong content. Most characters have like 4 or 5 skins. Donkey Kong and Pauline only have 1 each. I wonder if they would announce a Mario Kart World update that features DK Bonanza content. Maybe you add Funky and Diddy Kong in there as well. would they announce that in the DK Bonanza Direct, or would that just be like a Twitter announcement another day? I'm not too sure, but something like that, I wouldn't be totally shocked if they decided to tack it onto the end of this presentation. But I don't know. I mean, they could definitely save that for later. It doesn't have to happen before Bonanza comes out, but it is something that's on my mind. I'm really looking forward to that first Mario Kart World updates. So yeah, DK Bonanza Direct, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you expecting big things from this, or do you think it's going to be kind of just a basic recap of information? I do think we will get that recap of basic information, but also some exciting new things. Maybe nothing earth-shattering, but I'm excited to see more of the game and stream it with you all. But of course, as we do here, we're always speculating about the next thing, the next big Nintendo Direct. So I really wanted to talk about what this means for a general June Nintendo Direct, because I was planning on making a video today anyway about the potential of a June Direct now that we're a little bit more than halfway through the month. So my first thought when I saw this DK Bonanza showcase announced is that it reminds me of June 2022. And what I mean by that is, if you go to the Nintendo Direct Wikipedia page and you look at all of the Nintendo Directs and when they've happened, I think we could be seeing a similar scenario here as to what happened in June of 2022, where on June 22nd, we had the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 game-specific Direct for a single-player game. We don't get those too often, right? We don't get single-player focused Directs too often. And then just about a week later, we got a Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase. Now, I know a lot of people don't care about partner showcases. However, this was actually a pretty good one. This is where they announced Nier for Switch, Personas for Switch, Pac-Man World Repack, as well as a myriad of other things. It was the first good partner showcase by my book, I would say. So in the span of like 6 days, we got a game-focused Nintendo Direct and a partner showcase. I personally am still going to be checking Nintendo Today next week and Twitter to see if they announce a Nintendo Direct, be that a full showcase that shows off more first-party stuff like Kirby Air Riders and Metroid Prime and all the other things we need to know about, or even just a partner showcase, because I still think there's a lot of third-party games that would need to be announced for Switch 2 for this holiday. But yeah, I mean, there's no denying that the DK Bonanza Direct does hurt the, I would guess, overall percentage chance, in my mind, of there being a June showcase. I think for a lot of people, Splatoon Raiders already did that. However, my argument against Splatoon Raiders hurting the chances is that they really didn't show much. They didn't give us a year. That was just a small tease, seemingly packaged with the announcement of Splatoon 3 Switch 2 edition, or Switch 2, patch for that game. It was more for like the anniversary for like the hardcore fans. It wasn't even advertised as Splatoon Raiders announcement. It was a video just from the Squid Research Lab where they casually announced a new Splatoon game, and we didn't learn too much about it. So even with that, I was still thinking, okay, June Direct, they actually show and explain what that is, perhaps, right? Maybe we get a release timing for it, if it is this year, if it's early next, whatever. So Splatoon Raiders, I really didn't think changed or moved the needle too much on whether or not I expected a June Direct. And then even with this DK Bonanza thing, at this point, I'm probably coping. But the Xenoblade Direct back in 2022, followed very quickly by the partner showcase, certainly has me thinking about that possibility. DK Bonanza is one of their biggest games of the year. I think it's totally possible that they have so much to say about that game. They want to have their big 15-minute overview like they did for Mario Kart World. You get that out ahead of the Direct, so that way you're not taking up 10-15 minutes of a general Nintendo Direct just on DK Bonanza. And yeah, I mean, beyond DK Bonanza, there's just so much we need to know about. We already have a Pokemon Presents dated for, I believe, July 22nd, so we know we're getting one of those. That's coming in like a month or so from now. Weird they announced it so early. I still don't really get that. But there's much more than just Pokemon coming out this year. We don't have a release date for Dragon Drive, that weird new IP that uses the mouse controls. That is coming out this summer, as announced by Nintendo. We don't know when in the summer that's releasing. I imagine that would be like a shadow drop when it does happen, so we need to find a release date for that game. I don't know if we need to see more of it. I don't think there's more of it really to see, but we need to see more of it and get a release date for sure for Dragon Drive. Kirby and the Forgotten Land plus the Star-Crossed World, I mean, I think we've seen what we really need to when it comes to that game. That's coming out in August, but then we get really into the unknown stuff with Metroid Prime 4. When is Prime 4 releasing? We need a release date for Prime 4. We've been saying Prime 4 release date for so long. It has to finally happen in the next few weeks. Same thing with Kirby Air Riders. We need a trailer for that game. That is supposedly releasing in 2024. 2025, and we haven't seen a moment of gameplay. We don't even really know what the game looks like. I mean, we can infer based on the CGI trailer and what we can imagine a 4K version of Kirby Air Ride looking in our heads, but we need to see that game if it's actually releasing this year. I don't think they can wait until September to show Kirby Air Riders in a September Direct. They need to show it in the next couple of weeks. And frankly, to a lesser extent, I do think that applies to Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment as well. We haven't just seen some gameplay of that game. We've seen very quick clips in that reveal trailer, but it wasn't that in-depth of a reveal trailer. Even the creator's voice didn't add much more to that. So Hyrule Warriors, I mean, that one we certainly know more about than Kirby Air Riders, but I still feel like we need a proper Age of Imprisonment trailer with a release date. Maybe they announce when that's Mineru's Construct Amiibo's coming out alongside it. We need that to happen soon. We also need some release dates for some key third-party titles that were announced in the April 2nd Direct. Most prominently, that would be Elden Ring, that's confirmed for 2025, but no exact date. Same thing with Final Fantasy VII Remake, confirmed for winter, not 2025, but winter. So if that's coming out this year, I would think a release date has to be announced pretty soon. And that's not even talking about the unknown. I mean, we kind of know that Yoshi's Woolly World is getting a Switch 1 version at some point this year. They showed a new icon, an entirely original art asset for Woolly World on April 2nd in that Switch 2 Direct, where they were talking about Switch 1 backwards compatibility on Switch 2. That's a game that has to be announced and released sometime this year. Now, granted, that is just a Wii U port. How much marketing and lead-up time do they need for that? Not that much, I imagine, but it's still just another thing on a laundry list of things that would be perfect to announce in a Nintendo Direct, even if there's nothing else this year, right? I've been speculating a Mario Wonder Switch 2 edition. They could announce that in September and release it in October. That's not a huge deal. Of course, it is sales-wise a huge deal, but it is an old game with new content if that does happen. Same thing with any other Switch 2 edition if they have to announce those. Same thing with like a Ring Fit 2. There's been some patents about Ring Fit Con on Switch 2, so maybe that could be like a September announcement just on Nintendo Today, and then, you know, a month or two later it releases. There are announcements that could wait until a September Direct, but I think far and wide, most of the stuff we already know about, we need to get more information sooner rather than later. So I think there are a few options here. As we already discussed, I still think it's totally possible, even if it is just a partner showcase, that we get something next week, early in the week, like we're getting with this DK Bonanza Direct, and that would be either just a full Direct or a partner showcase. Maybe we would just get like a Kirby trailer drop next week for Air Riders. The other possibility is no Direct at all. We just aren't getting a Direct anytime soon, and every week over the summer, we see announcements made on Nintendo Today and social media, be that release dates, be that new announcements for something like Woolly World or Splatoon Raiders we already saw, and over the summer, we get something once per week. Going back to 2022, even with that Xenoblade Direct and that partner showcase, they still actually did that. If you remember, back then, we had those two Directs. We had the announcements of Bayonetta 3's release date on Twitter. We had the announcement of Kirby's Dream Buffet on Twitter, as well as I think a few other smaller things were just dropped on social media with no proper Nintendo Direct to kind of, package it all together. Are we looking at a similar situation where over the next several weeks, we just one day wake up to a Metroid Prime 4 release date and Pro Controller Special Edition and new amiibo sets? Are we going to wake up and see that August 6th release date for Dragon Drive, whatever it might be? I think that is possible, and at this point, maybe the most realistic scenario. I would be fine with that. It's fine. As long as we get the information soon, that's okay by me. However, I do still think there is so much for them to say. Even if they don't announce any other new games, aside from some Switch 1 remasters, there's enough to make a Direct already pretty damn entertaining, in my opinion, just from the holiday slate that we know about, because we don't know that much about a lot of them. And usually around June is when they start teasing some things for next year. Of course, last year in the June Direct, they announced Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. Let's say Tomodachi Life is January or Rhythm Heaven is January next year. Let's see it again, Let's see those games again. But I think we could be just looking at some Nintendo Today updates, some Twitter announcements throughout the summer. Maybe we get a partner showcase in July or August or something, because the third-party slate right now is pretty much barren after August. We have a lot of games dated for July and August. September has a few things, Star Wars Outlaws and Daemon X Machina, Titanic Scion. But after that, there's nothing dated. Final Fantasy Tactics also September for Switch 2. So Elden Ring, you assume that's November. Maybe you put Final Fantasy VII Remake in December because they said winter. that's it. I mean, those are huge games, don't get me wrong, but I feel like there must be more third-party support on the platform this year, be that a Call of Duty Black Ops 7, if that does miraculously manage to come to the platform this year, be that late ports like a Dragon Ball Sparking Zero we've talked a lot about on the channel, or even Red Dead Redemption 2. If you missed this, I was going to talk about it in the video before the DK Bonanza thing was announced. The voice actor, I believe for John Marston, said that there was a very exciting Red Dead announcement coming soon, and a lot of people jumped on that and were saying, like, oh, this is going to be a Nintendo Direct thing. Like, oh, they're going to announce the Switch 2 version, but also the PlayStation and Xbox Series X version because it doesn't have a next-gen patch. Seemingly, that's not the case. I was a little skeptical of it. I don't know if the voice actor, for even the main character, would necessarily hype up a Switch 2 port. Would he even know about that, honestly? Like, I know he is integral to the game, but also it is just a port, so I don't know there. But Red Dead Redemption 2 is one that's heavily rumored. Baldur's Gate 3. There's a lot of third-party support that I feel like still needs to be announced for 2025. But even that stuff, I mean, maybe they'll just do it on Twitter over the next few weeks. Maybe we get a September Direct or like an August Mario Anniversary Showcase. That could happen, or I guess that'd be early September. I still think we're getting like a Mario Wonder Switch 2 edition, or maybe Mario Maker 2 Switch 2 edition. Something Mario is going to be announced and released in October. That I am willing to put money on. Like, I truly am confident we're getting some sort of other Mario thing for the holiday period, even if it is just a Switch 2 edition. I guess you could maybe even count Yoshi's Woolly World as like a Mario adjacent thing, especially with the new movie coming out, focusing so heavily on Yoshi based on that end teaser, also based on the name being Super Mario World, seemingly. I mean, that's another thing, too. If they did a Mario Anniversary Direct in early September, like we saw in 2020, there is a lot you can do with that type of Direct. Mario Kart World DLC could be announced there. If there's DK Bonanza content, they could announce that there as well, because it's adjacent enough. More Mario Legos and other partnership items, stuff like that. And then, of course, the Mario movie itself. I mean, we kind of know it's called Super Mario World based on that leaked NBC Peacock email or agreement, whatever, but Nintendo hasn't officially said, hey, this is the title of the movie, so we need the title of the movie officially announced. We need to see all of the casting announced. We don't know who's playing Yoshi in this movie, so we certainly need to see that. And then, frankly, we need to see the first trailer. We're getting to that point where we're going to start talking about, like, hey, where's the Mario Movie 2 trailer? The movie's coming out in April, September to April. That sounds about right for them to start showing it ahead of the holiday movie rush, and you want to have that trailer before those new movies. So a Mario Direct in September where they announce all that stuff, some ports, that kind of thing, I feel like really makes sense. Maybe that's where you announce Luigi's Mansion for Switch Online, or like Mario Sunshine or something. Maybe you bring back 3D All-Stars entirely. I don't know. I feel like there's still going to be a lot of news over the summer. I would prefer if it was packaged in a Nintendo Direct nicely for us just next week. However, I do think no matter what, we need to get this information in the coming weeks leading up to some sort of presentation in September, be that a general showcase that shows us more into the 2026, and we get more dates for 2026 and more games announced. Dustbloods maybe gets a release date there, or some sort of Mario presentation. We need something. We need more. We need more than just this DK Bonanza Direct, which I am excited for. I don't want to take away from the DK Bonanza Direct. Once again, I will be live streaming that on Wednesday morning, but I feel like we're going to wake up this time next week and we're going to be talking about how, oh, they just announced either a partner showcase, a general Direct, or maybe even just a release date for Metroid Prime 4, which would still be very exciting. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think is exactly going on here? Do you think we are going to see more Nintendo news drop throughout the summer on Nintendo Today and social media? Do you think we're going to get a Nintendo Direct, a partner showcase, a Mario Direct later in the summer? What do you think is going on with Nintendo's marketing in a post-Switch 2 launch era? I would love to hear what you think in the comments down below. Of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch 2 news and coverage and theories and all that fun stuff. Follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames. Check out my Nintendo collecting channel at It's Amiibo. Posting my Welcome Tour review there this morning. Really like that game, or well, I'll get into it in the review. Go watch the review, you can get my full feelings on it there. And as always, you can click on one of the 2 videos on screen to listen to me ramble about even more Nintendo stuff. Until next time, folks, peace.